Hello and welcome to another episode of FinTech Focus TV with me, Toby Babb. Today we are talking ahead of the Summit for Wealth Management, where we will be. I'm very much looking forward to it, and I am very pleased to introduce you to Amy from Dovestone Media and Stuart from IM Asset Management. Thank you both for coming on. How are you both?
Yeah, great. Thank you for having us.
Very good, thank you.
Absolute pleasure. Good. So we're going to be talking about the Summit for Wealth Management. Really looking forward to understanding a little bit about what we can expect and where it comes from. Before we do that, Amy, will you give us a quick intro to yourself and Dovestone Media?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Because I've been working in the events and media space for over 6 years now. I've been personally working across, various industries, including pharmaceuticals, consumer goods, infrastructure, and of course financial services, which I've now sort of specialised in for the past few years. So I actually have been working on wealth management, private banking, and sustainable investing conferences for a while, and I joined Fox Media, our kind of sister company, 3 years ago. We launched the Summit for ESG and the Summit for Wealth Management, two different independent portfolio series. And of course, now, as of January 2025, the Summit for Wealth Management is now owned by Dovestone Media. And we've got the third edition of the Summit for Wealth Management coming up on the 12th of May, as well as the fourth edition of the Summit for ESG on the 20th of October. So really exciting to be leading those yet again, but kind of have a dedicated platform for those to shine, really. And we've also got some private events running in the background in the same sectors. Like we've just had one in Boston last week, for example, but wealth is the next one coming up.
Fantastic. And it's two very relevant areas there at the moment as well. There's a lot happening in both of them. And Stuart, thank you very much for coming on as well. As we said before, you're the CEO of IM Asset Management. Tell us a little bit about your involvement in the show and a bit of background to you as well, please.
Yeah, well, Miz, delighted to participate this year. I'm facilitating, which I'm looking forward to. There's last year I was talking, and I think when you're talking, you're always worried about what's going to happen. Are people going to turn up? But actually, it's always an event that's got a good.
I'm sure they did.
Good attendance, and there's actually really good questions. So no, facilitating this year. My background is, as you say, the day job is CEO of IM Asset Management. We're a UK wealth manager. I've come here through a variety of senior roles at places like Seven Investment Management, Brooks Macdonald, Coutts and Co. And I guess at heart, Toby, I'm still a client person. Yes, I'm running a business, but the reason things like this are important for me is about trying to help improve the outcome for clients. That's the key.
Absolutely. Well, a great place to be doing it as well. And look, as we sort of intimated before, there's a lot happening at the moment, trend-wise within the space, and in wealth management, in fintech, the global macro market. I mean, the global macro market is anyone's guess at the moment, isn't it? It sort of evolves on a daily basis. But tell us some of the sort of trends that we're seeing out there at the moment. Amy, what's your take on this?
Yeah, we've got a lot of our speakers actually in prep right now for the event. We've got coverage on global taxation regimes and client mobility, especially after the UK autumn budget statements, how that impacted a lot of the non-doms, and a lot of our participants at the event, even though they are UK-based firms, they do deal with international markets, as you can imagine. So there's a lot happening there. So examples of that is we've got James Sellen and Stuart Wakeling covering that topic. We've also got, the usual conversation around estate and retirement planning. Again, what's happening with inheritance tax, shifts in intergenerational wealth management, all of those things. The great wealth transfer gets kind of brought up every year, and it's kind of more and more of interest, I'd say, from having worked on this event for the past few years. It seems to be a bit of a buzzword right now. And then, like you say, no one can predict what happens in the global markets, but investment markets are always kind of talk across the various job titles in the sector, whether that's portfolio managers or just people whose clients it affects. People always want to know what's happening, post-inflation, and even just sort of things like the US election, like what that means for their clients as well. So Stuart, I don't know if you want to kind of expand on some of that.
Well, you've covered a lot, and what's left for me to go? I mean, we've got some strange things happening at the moment, macro world with Trump and tariffs. Clearly, that I think is putting a lot of thought around what you want to give your client. Is it the best return? Is it risk adjusted, how important is the volatility, the journey, the drawdown compared to the outcome. I think some of the other stuff that's important, and I guess some of the area that I will look through is around, yeah, how does technology play its role in terms of improving client service, and importantly, the client experience. You know, we're in a world that's becoming overly commoditized, and I guess the challenge is what at the end of the day, you know, how does this manifest in client portfolios? How does it manifest in advisors being able to do their job and deepen relationships with clients? So there's a lot of that I'm looking forward to hearing from other people as to how they're dealing with some of that stuff. And sure, the topical stuff around, you know, tax, Trump, budget, markets, that's always going to be there, right? That's not
Yeah.
going anywhere.
Yeah, well, Trump attacks the markets are probably the the things which have been moving it. But there's a whole lot happening in technology. I'm glad you touched on that beforehand as well, where there's so much movement happening, so much pace of evolution and such like that's happening, particularly around AI. I don't think there's been an event I've been at this year or even probably the past 18 months where it hasn't really dominated how people are gaining advantage and pushing it forward from that. So I'm sure that will dive into it as well. So obviously, the Summit for Wealth Management's there and covering those sort of areas. 12th of May, the good and great of the industry all coming together around it. How does the summit itself tackle some of those issues? What can we expect to see there?
Yeah, so it's probably worth saying that we have 3 content streams covering pretty much every theme that you can think of that's relevant to those in that space. So Stuart is actually moderating the premium client services and communications room. We've also got the technology innovation stream, as well as the global macro strategy and performance and risk track. So we try and cover everything to do with front, middle, and back office operations. Some of those topics that we've touched on will, of course, be featured. And we really try and dive in with a lot of like real world examples of like what wealth managers are seeing from their clients. We've also got perspective from private banks, financial planning firms, family offices, and of course the fintechs who are innovating in the space as well. So we do have a panel on AI actually in the morning, which will probably be of interest, especially like you say, year on year, we're seeing more kind of interest around that. As well as like examples of digital platforms that are emerging in this space. You know, even though it is quite a still in-person industry, we've got a lot of questions around what that looks like in the modern
Yeah,
world.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to dive into in there. And sure, in your stream as well there. What are some of the things if you're sat there and thinking, right, what do I want to get from a selfish perspective? What do I want to get out of this? What am I interested in diving into? What are some of the things which I want to get out of that stream? And indeed, people moving into to come into that part of the room.
Yeah.
What are you excited about in that space?
I think it's about learning from how others are doing things, right? We've all got the same challenges. You know, we all want to deepen relationships. We want the cost to serve to reduce, but have more time with clients and do it in a regulatory way that means that we are efficient and understanding of clients to the best of our ability. So what I find from these sessions is often, you know, you will hear snippets from how different firms are addressing areas. You know, it could be in service, it could be in the use of technology around, you know, client letters, client reporting, documentation. It could be something around, you know, synergies where different types of tools allow them greater capacity in terms of being able to service more clients or deal with the advice gap at a lower level. It's picking off different things like that. And you know, my experience of events like this is the questions in the room and the presentations are the beginning of it. What then happens is, you know, you'll have take questions from the floor where people will bring up and add comment, and then you see lots of conversations happening over a cup of coffee or something where people will then follow up individually, and that's, yeah, that's to me ultimately with any of these events, you only get out what you put in. If you come along and want to listen and engage, you'll definitely get something from it. Yeah, that's for sure. And the people that, you know, do well at these, you know, they've got an opinion, and it's about listening and sharing. So that's certainly what I'll be looking for, is picking up those snippets to apply in our own business.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I love the fact you mentioned that as well, because it is the approach you take to the event. There's wallflowers in these sort of events, and there's people there who are there to contribute, to share. And I love the fact of when I go to events, the collaboration that we're seeing in the industry these days. I don't think we always saw, but the ability to learn from each other and to share information and to improve as an industry, I think is such an important part of it. And if we go back to the dark days of 2020 where the events industry got shook to its very very core. I think, but what people recognise they missed was that opportunity to connect, to network, to learn, to evolve. And we've seen a lot of innovation. We've seen the industry move. We've seen a lot of more and more financial services events pop up over the last couple of years. And I think it's been more important to think about the format, the content. And Amy, I know this is something you guys have put a lot of thought into as to how we do that, how we address those issues, how we make sure it's something there that's manageable and valuable, and all the things Stuart was mentioning there to actually come away from it with a, you know what, that was something which was brilliant. How do you guys do that and make sure it's something which has ticks all of those boxes?
Yeah, it's really interesting points actually, because obviously, as someone working in the event space during the pandemic, we definitely noticed that people were very keen to get back to in-person events. There's actually a lot of parallels with the event industry and the wealth management and financial services industry with how our client relationships are, if you think about who our audience is. We have a very interactive format. So if anyone wants to check out our agenda, they'll notice that we have a lot of panel discussions, interactive fireside chats. Obviously, the room that Stuart's moderating, it will be largely kind of interactive debates and everything. So we don't actually do that whole death by PowerPoint presentation sort of format, which we think is quite different sometimes because we don't actually have a lot in the way of slides. It is very much that, shared experience and exchanging of ideas. We do also do one-to-one meetings as well, so that people don't just kind of have to rely on bumping into each other. They get a chance to kind of have pre-arranged one-to-one meetings. And then, of course, this year, having Harrington Star there with the Media Hub, sort of doing sort of live podcast recordings, just trying to sort of make the most of the day because it is a one-day experience, really. And it's, it's only an annual event, so we try and maximize what we can get out of it, bringing everyone in one room in one place. I think thinking about the industry long term, though, because we do obviously have multiple events in the same sector sometimes, we've thought about what direction we'd like to see this going in. So beyond just the kind of good content, we're seeing more demand for actually fun experiences. So, whichever industry you're working in, people want more entertainment and they want more, ways to build those human connections, because that actually leads to long-lasting relationships and collaboration in the industry. That's what we've seen.
Yeah, I think that relationship piece is really important. And you're right, there's much more creativity around what makes the show. It's almost you've got to have that showbiz element to it to make it work as well. So looking forward to it. And actually, I'm really looking forward to. I'm pleased you said that. Look, Harrington Star will be there. FinTech Focus, we're absolutely delighted to bring to the show as well at the same sort of time, and be interviewing some of the good and great, and being able to tell the stories and keep those stories moving at the same time afterwards is something that we really enjoy getting involved in. So, and Stuart, you've been sat there, you've been looking at some of these events, you know what you're looking for from it. What are some of the things, the formats that you've seen that are working at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I heard Amy talk earlier about Boston. I'm quite happy and free and available if she wants me to go there. But stuck in Sheffield at the moment, and I spend my time going around the UK, and I guess there are a lot of events, right? And one of the challenges for the industry is working out where do you go where you're actually going to get some tangible benefit. So for me, it's days like this where you bring themes across a number of different rooms with lots of people in one place, the ability to really sort of dive in, take some time away from the day job, reflect, listen, understand, and take it back. So I don't do too many of these, but this is certainly one that I would do. Beyond that, I think it's small in-person gatherings, breakfasts or dinners, where you get your contemporaries together and you're able to, almost in a Chatham House type environment, talk about what's going on. They're the things that I tend to go to because you can then go away and actually apply some of that information, and that's why this is a good one, because there's so many people you can deep dive in and go and have the conversation. But outside of that, Toby, for me, it's about creating experience where the environment is one where people are comfortable in sharing what they really think and debating and discussing, because I'm not to meet anyone yet who's got all of the answers to all of the problems. So we can all learn from one another, and I think that's definitely something that's come out of the COVID environment is people have very similar challenges now across businesses, whether they're big, small, or whatever. And sometimes just sharing those, you can often find you can get through an answer a lot quicker.
Yeah, especially when, as I said before, you've got the people who are ready to do that and ready to share. There's no posturing, there's no bravado that sort of comes into it. When you can fill a room with people like that, you get some real value from it all. So, Amy, who should be coming along to it? Who's going to it? What are the sort of people that they can expect to network with, to hear from, and what's the best way for them to reach out and make sure they're there and don't miss out on the 12th of May?
Yeah, we have 50 really impressive speakers and moderators, including Stuart on board. So we've got Tracy Davidson, CEO at Hamden & Co. We've got Tony Overy, CEO at Rathbones. We've got Jonathan Gain, founder and CEO at Stellar Asset Management. There's a lot of sort of C-suite heads, director level industry executives from the higher sort of general job titles, as well as, like I say, different job functions within the industry as well. So front client facing, middle, back office operations, your chief operating officer, pretty much anyone in this space will be there, especially from, you know, the UK market, London and the wider UK. Everyone's still welcome to register. You know, registration is still open, so they can register on our website or check out our LinkedIn page. I'm sure this video will contain a link somewhere as well. And like I say, we've got fintech partners, including Canoe Intelligence, who are hosting the networking drinks reception at the end of the day. We've got EV Financial Solutions, Nadal Solutions, Baha. Of course, Harrington Star will be there, as well as other partners on board as well. So too many to list right now, but hopefully people go and check it out and sign up because there's still place.
Very, very good. Well, look, I'm thoroughly looking forward to it. Thanks for sharing it with everyone today. I look forward to seeing you both there on the day. Please do sign up if you're watching for this, and we will see you, if not there, then on the next episode of FinTech Focus TV, where you'll be able to relive some of the highlights as well. Stuart, Amy, thank you very, very much, and looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Toby.
Bye now.